I know kimchi is something that a lot of people buy in the store, and it's pretty good when you buy it in the store, but you know what? It's super easy to make at home. So in this video, we're going to show you how we make our own kimchi here, because we're almost out and we need some more. Can you say more kimchi?
More chicken.
Good job. The recipe that I'm going to be using today is from this book, Weck Small Batch Preserving. I like this book because while it's got a bunch of canning recipes in it, it's also got a bunch of fermenting and pickling recipes in it. Canning definitely has its place on the homestead, but there are times when you don't necessarily want just canned goods, and maybe you want something with a little bit more pizzazz or funk or something that's different than what a canning recipe can get you. So I like this book. We'll have a link in the description down below where you can go buy this on Amazon. It's not crazy expensive, and it has a lot of really cool other stuff in there as well. The fermenting section in this book is actually really good. It's got, you know, your kimchi recipes. It's got a recipe for giardiniera, which is really cool. But giardiniera is a spicy Italian pickled vegetable salad, and you can ferment it just as well as you can actually. You can make it with just like standard vinegar and pickle it, but you can ferment it as well, which is awesome. So there's those standard pickling and fermenting recipes in here that you're probably pretty familiar with, but there's also a whole bunch of recipes in here for things that I didn't even know existed, like kvass, which is a fermented drink. Not necessarily too different from kombucha. I think the difference in this between like kombucha and kvass is kvass uses fruit juices and kombucha uses black tea, which then is flavored with fruit juice. But there's a lot of neat stuff in here that is definitely worth checking out if you're into pickling and fermenting. So pick this book up if you don't already have it. I recommend it. I've also got the farm foreman here with me today. She is going to be helping out as best she can. Obviously, we're not going to be giving her a knife and having her cut up veggies or anything. But we think it's really important. Get your kids involved in the kitchen. Get your kids learning. Bless you. Get your kids learning how to cook. Get them excited for things like this. We're lucky in that Emma likes spicy things. She doesn't necessarily like fermented things, but she does like things that are spicy. It doesn't bother her so much. So she gets to try things like this as well. But get them in the kitchen. She loves helping out. We've got her little stand, which you'll see in this video. And she's going to be my assistant today while Jackie's upstairs working. You ready to help?
Yeah.
Okay. So the ingredients you're going to need to make kimchi are all pretty straightforward and should be available in your local grocery stores. You may need to go to a slightly larger grocery store to get some of the stuff, but you should be able to find it all. You're going to need kosher salt, iodine-free. You're going to need garlic. This is our fermented garlic that we've been fermenting. I think it's going on like 2 or 3 weeks, so it should be fine. You can use any garlic, but we're going to use ours. Fish sauce. This is 3 Crabs brand. There's a bunch of different brands out there. You can get a store brand if you want. The big thing with the fish sauce is you want to make sure that it is preservative free. You can do that just by reading the ingredients. If you look here, anchovy extract, salt, water, fructose, hydrolyzed vegetable protein. That's it. There's no other chemicals in here that are going to preserve this. And that's mainly because when you're doing your fermenting, you need that to be preservative free. Otherwise, it's going to kill all your yeasts. You need green onions, ginger, Napa cabbage. Again, if you don't grow this yourself, you can find this at larger grocery stores. We don't grow it, especially this time of year, so we bought it from a store. Daikon radish. Again, something a little bit more specialty. If you can't find daikon radish, you can just use regular radishes. You showing them the ginger? You're going to need carrots, as Emma is demonstrating up here. And the last thing you're going to need, and probably one of the hardest for you to find, is going to be gochugaru. Gochugaru. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a Korean red pepper flake. It took me a little bit to find it. I did end up finding it in a local larger grocery store here. You could always special order this online if you need it. But this is what's going to give your kimchi that spicy kick. This is really what you want to use. You could probably get away with red pepper or cayenne or something like that. But this is the authentic stuff. This is the real business. To start, however, though, we don't need any of this except for the cabbage and the salt. So let's put all the rest of this back in the fridge and get started on the cabbage. All right. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut your cabbage in wedges. So you're going to cut it here, turn it 90, cut those halves here. You're gonna pull the core out, and then you're gonna cut this in about 2-inch strips. You can leave it big and chunky. So right there, that's the core you want to cut out. Pick it up. 1, 2, 3, dump. Good job. Okay, we're gonna put that back.
Yippee!
Yippee! Go ahead, dump. Got it? Okay, go ahead, dump. Good job.
Yeah!
Alright, one more. The recipe we're working with calls for 2 heads of cabbage. I'm doubling the recipe. But again, it's fermentation. I am really kind of taking some liberties with this. And you're going to see some of the things I'm changing as we go throughout the recipe that don't necessarily jive. All right, you ready to dump?
Yeah!
Okay, let's dump. Go ahead. Good job. Oh, a little more. Good job. All right, so now that we've got our 4 heads of cabbage cut and in a big pot, we're gonna take half a cup of salt, a quarter cup for the regular recipe, half a cup if you're doing a full recipe or doubling it. And we're gonna take a half a cup of salt. All right, hang on, we're not gonna dump those because those were on the floor. You're gonna take a half a cup of salt and you're gonna sprinkle it over the top. You wanna pour that in? Here, sprinkle it over. All right, and now the fun part is you're going to take that salt and you're going to start massaging it into the cabbage. You want to make sure you reach all the way down and get up from the bottom and turn everything over. And you really want to work that salt into it. Don't be worried about if you break up the cabbage or crush it a little bit. What we're going for here is we want the cabbage to start releasing liquid, which is going to help us make a brine. This is another part where if you have kids helping you, they can get really into it. All right, once you're done with this, you're going to close it up, put the lid on it, and you're going to forget about this for at least 2 hours, upwards of 4. At least 2 hours. 2 hours is kind of the sweet spot that we've found. But if you like a saltier kimchi, definitely let it go longer. Really, it's just going to even start the fermentation process before we add the rest of the stuff, which we'll come back and do in a little bit. Right now, we're going to head outside and we're going to take care of the chickens and play in the snow a little bit. All right, let's let Finn go first. Go ahead, Finn. Okay, now go ahead. Tell you what's going to feel weird, not putting this part at the beginning of the video. How's everyone doing out here today? Ladies? Gents? We didn't get a lot of snow last night, probably like 3-4 inches, so everyone's doing fine. They had already kind of packed down a spot. As you can see, the ducks are already splashing in the water pool. So yeah, we got them some corn. We got them some fresh water. They've got food over in the feeder still. I'd say all is well. What you got?
Egg.
Is that the duck eggs?
Yeah.
Looking good. Oh, all right. I think we might have just broken one. All right, put it back in. Put it in. All right, let's bring him inside. You want Daddy to carry him?
No.
Okay. We're very independent right now. Got him. Oh.
Please.
All right, let's put him back in. Okay, gently. Gently. There may or may not be 5 broken duck eggs inside here right now. That's just the nature 2-year-olds, though. All right, it's been a little more than 4 hours. It's been almost 6 at this point. I did take the cabbage and rinse it and squeeze all the moisture out of it. So we stopped that. We've got our carrots right here. We've got our daikon radish right here. I'm gonna throw them on the mandolin. We're gonna julienne them up and we're gonna add them to the cabbage. What do you think of that? That looks pretty good, huh? As of right now, this is just a delicious, slightly salty cabbage salad. You could pick up and eat it right now. And it's good, it's just slightly salted cabbage. What do you think? You want a bite?
No.
Come on, take a bite.
No.
Emma doesn't want it. All right, Emma is done for the moment. She saw me take out the food processor, which she doesn't like because it's loud. So we've got our julienne carrots in there, our julienne daikon radish in there, and now we're cutting up some scallions into like 1-inch pieces. Save the ends, you can regrow these. This is where you can start to tweak the recipe a little bit. The basis of our fermentation is already going to be going on in what we have in the pot with the cabbage and the carrot and the radish. The radish, yeah, right there. This is merely going to be a flavoring additive to it. So the recipe in here calls for an onion, a medium onion. I'm not going to use it, 1, because I forgot to buy an onion, but 2, because I've never used it before in other kimchi recipes and it hasn't altered the taste. It's made a pretty darn good kimchi. So we're going to use a couple pieces of ginger. We're probably going to use 8 tablespoons of gochujang. That's a spice level that I like. You can adjust this later on. We're going to use 12 cloves of garlic out of here. I'm sorry, I have carrot in my mouth. You don't like the carrot? We're going to use 12 cloves of our fermented garlic. And we're going to use 4 tablespoons of fish sauce. All of that is going to go into the food processor. This smells incredible. An advantage to using this fermented garlic in the recipe is that this has already started fermenting, so the microbes that are in here, once they go into the kimchi, they're really going to kickstart our fermentation and help make it a little bit quicker. I mean, kimchi normally only takes like 3 days, but this is going to get things going right away. If you need to add some liquid to this, you can use 1 cup of water with a tablespoon of salt in it. Once you've got that blended up, all you've got to do is ask your assistant to pour it into the pot. You can take that and pour it in here. Go ahead, pour it in. Good job. Good job. And then once that's in there, you've got to mix everything up. I find a set of clean hands works best for this. Just don't touch any eyes, nose, wiggly bits after you do this, because that gochujang is extremely hot. And again, at this point, you've still got a delicious cabbage salad, essentially. It's a lot spicier now than it was before, but there's going to be a real spicy batch.
No one.
So the next part of this is really the only, I won't even say specialized equipment of the whole operation, because you don't need to have this. You can use a gallon-sized mason jar with a wide mouth lid and just leave it screwed partly. But if you don't have that, or if you want to get yourself a decent fermenter, this is called, I think, the Picklemeister. It was like 20 bucks on Amazon for a gallon-sized jar, which is a whole lot of kimchi. We're probably going to be giving a bunch of this away. But this will come with the lid and an airlock that you can use, which I'll show you in a little while, which makes it so you can keep oxygen from getting into it. And oxygen is going to create mold, and that's really the main enemy here on this. But it comes with some stuff where you can keep it below. It doesn't come with weights, which is kind of a bummer, but honestly, I've been using this for a while without fermenting weights, and it's gone just fine. So now you're going to take all of your mixture that you have, and you're going to put it into here as neatly as you can. There's really no clean way to do it. You can buy half-gallon Pickle Meister as well if you don't want to make as much. If you have a smaller family and you find yourself not going through fermented goods. All right, keep pushing down. We want to fit it all in here. Don't be afraid to make a little bit of a mess, okay? We're fermenting here. We're spoiling the food already. So if you make a little bit of a mess, just clean it up. At this point, it's okay if it's not sitting all below the liquid. Eventually, you do want it to be below the liquid, but right off the bat, it's okay. This is gonna make a bunch of brine over the first few hours, so eventually it's all gonna be below that liquid. All right, so it's a little bit later at night. My sous chef has gone to take a bath and go to bed, and the kimchi is in the fermenter with the airlock on top. This is an important part. You can get away with doing this without one if you use a mason jar and just keep the lid loose on it so gas can escape. But this makes it a lot easier because you know that air is not going to get into your kimchi while it's fermenting. Another important thing to note is that if you put your kimchi in here and there's a bunch of stuff up above the liquid, that's okay for a little bit, but if it goes more than a day like that, you want to make sure that you get some liquid in there. You can mix 1 tablespoon to 1 cup of water and pour that in over top. And what that's going to do is that's going to extend your brine a little bit and give you a little bit more coverage, because food that's underneath the brine isn't going to grow mold, but if there's food sticking out above it, you can grow some mold up there, and it won't ruin your whole ferment, but it can impart some weird flavors sometimes, and it's just better to not have it happen. Again, if you buy this Pickle Meister setup, which we'll have a link in the description to, I think it's like $22, and it includes this airlock with the lid and the grommet and everything you need. You can DIY these things, but for us, I mean, a gallon glass jar is worth like 15 bucks anyway to us. You can't really find it much cheaper than that. So for $22 to have a setup that works, we just went that route. I'll give you a little pro tip too, because you want to keep this dark while it's fermenting. Your blender cover, if you have one, it works perfect to cover your fermenter. Hopefully this video encourages some of you guys to try fermenting at home. We've been doing it for a while. I've really put a lot of effort into doing it this winter so that come next summer, when we're harvesting stuff from the garden, we can preserve it in ways that are different than just throwing it in the freezer, because the consistency of vegetables changes in the freezer. And while canning things works, it's cool to have some different types of vegetables to break up the monotony a little bit. Nobody likes canned green beans all the time. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.